As you can tell by the title, this video is going to be about how to get through labor without an epidural. For those guys who are new to my channel, I have 3 little boys, and with all 3 of them, I never had an epidural, never had any kind of pain relief at all. My first 2, I was induced, so I was also on Pitocin. I know a thing or two about how to get through labor without getting an epidural. Starting off with my first labor, I was 18 years old, so I was pretty young. As you can imagine, it was pretty scary for me going into labor at such a young age. As like everybody else, didn't know what it was going to be like. I had no idea what to expect, and I was told that I was going to be induced. So I started researching online how to go with an unmedicated birth. Found a lot of different sites saying you can't go through an induced birth without pain medication. It's too bad, it's too painful. And I'm sure you guys have heard the horror stories of Pitocin, or how you can't give birth without caving and getting an epidural. I can understand where some people are coming from on that, but on the other hand, I didn't have anything to compare it to. All I knew was that labor was going to be the worst pain of my life, so I went into it expecting it to be painful. I think if you ready yourself up for the pain, it might make it a little bit easier. I read something online that said the biggest tip, if you really don't want to get an epidural, is to tell yourself that there is no other option. And I know that sounds crazy because there are other options, obviously, but if you really, really, really want to go without an epidural for whatever reason, tell yourself that you don't have another option. But that is what I did with my first, because I really didn't want an epidural. I don't even really remember the reason why back then. I think it was probably mostly because I'm afraid of needles and I don't want one being shoved in my back. Second, I'd heard a lot of people around here who had repercussions from getting an epidural, back pain and that sort of thing, that never went away. So I decided that I did not want one, and so I told myself that there was no other option, that I was going to give birth without an epidural, and that was that. I was in labor for about 8 hours with my first, and I expected the pain, but I didn't expect it to feel the way it did. Like, there are different kinds of pain. Like, you got shot versus you've got a paper cut. Like, paper cut stings and stuff, and I really don't know what getting shot feels like, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. So there's different kinds of pain, right? Well, labor is a pain that you can't really relate to anything else. I mean, some people say period cramps, but it really, I mean, that's the closest you can get, but it's really not even touching what it actually feels like. And so people say it's this horrendous, horrible pain, but that's because they have no way to like explain it to anyone, because it's such a different kind of pain. And you have to keep reminding yourself that it's something productive. It will be over soon in the grand scheme of things. I mean, some labors can take days, but if you keep reminding yourself it will be over, this will not last forever, it's a productive pain, meaning there's going to be a child born, and you don't really have a choice. Like, you've got to get your baby out somehow, so it's gonna come out whether you want it to or not. My second, I was also induced. I also had an 8-hour labor. It went a lot easier just because I knew what to expect. Try and relax every muscle in your body. And that sounds crazy. You're like, well, dude, I am in so much pain. I don't have an epidural, so this is painful. How am I supposed to relax everything? Well, you just like tell yourself each body part to relax, and once you do it, you'll want to keep doing it because it actually takes the pain away. Not the entire time, but even through like transition up until pushing, it can take the pain away. So just remember that one. That one's when I learned from my doula the last birth I had. My third labor, I was not induced, and it only lasted 2 hours. They broke my water. 2 hours later, I had the baby. I was already 6 centimeters dilated. So that one was super quick and super painful, just because it just went so fast. Like I went from not feeling any pain to pushing a baby out in like 2 hours. So it was very, very quick, and I started in the transition stage, so it just went boom and it was over and done with. But it was super painful just because I didn't have that slow start that Pitocin gives you. Still not recommending Pitocin. It is so horrible. It just, that takes longer, because with my first with my first labor versus my third labor, both times I went into the hospital at 6 centimeters dilated and bags bulging. My first labor, they induced me. My second labor, they just broke my water. And my first labor lasted 8 hours. My second lasted 2. So that's really saying something. Definitely, if you're 6 centimeters dilated and your bags are bulging, as long as baby's in the right position, just break your water. Don't have them give you Pitocin. Pitocin isn't really that bad. I mean, it's not ideal. It has a bunch of side effects, which I have a reaction to Pitocin. I hemorrhage. But that's very rare. But Pitocin is not horrible. You can give birth without an epidural. I did twice. It's not too much different than a regular birth. But unless you're getting it for a real medical reason, don't, because there are so many risks to it, and I think I need to do a whole other separate video on that. If you're planning on getting induced with Pitocin and you're wanting to have an epidural, realize that that is one of the many reasons why you would have to have a C-section, because the Pitocin is stimulating labor hormones. But when you put an epidural on top of the Pitocin, it slows down those hormones. It can interact with them and make it so you stop dilating. And if you stop dilating for a certain amount of time, they put you in and cut you open. So definitely be careful with that. It's really, really, I mean, coming from me, it really is not that bad to go without an epidural. And I might sound like some crazy whack job, but I'm serious. It is really not that bad to go without an epidural. And it makes you feel good when you've actually been able to do it without, because like, wow, I'm strong, I'm awesome, I'm like super mom, and it really does. It makes you, like, gives you a boost of confidence that you were able to do it. Pain tolerance doesn't really matter, because it's a different kind of pain than any other kind of pain you've ever experienced. So your pain tolerance for getting cut or breaking your toe or something could be horrible, but your pain tolerance for labor is completely different. It's something that you have to go through, and you realize you have to go through it, and it's bringing you something. So when you're in pain, like you cut your finger or something, it hurts, and it hurts really bad because it's what your brain is telling you. It's a pain that is not going to give you anything, and you don't know when it's going to end. So it's a completely different kind of pain. So it's hard to say, oh, well, I have a really good pain tolerance, I can do this easy. Not necessarily. I mean, you could have the worst pain tolerance in the world, cry over like a paper cut. Well, I probably would, but you could like have a horrible pain tolerance and still be able to do an unmedicated labor without a huge problem. Obviously, I'm a big advocate for no epidurals, because I know you can do it. I know you can. And as long as you have support and you know what you want and you make sure that everybody else knows what you want, you can do it. I mean, people have been doing it for thousands of years. It's Mother Nature. It's, well, I don't know, kind of, but it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to think that you can't do. You can. Every single person on this earth could do it if they needed to, and a lot of people have. So definitely, I totally am an advocate for this. Try it. Just try it, because it will make you feel amazing. And if you don't, if you can't, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. You'll still feel super amazing because you pushed that baby out of you. And yeah, girl power. I don't know why I just did that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out my other videos. Like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys later. Bye.